for you to move that way just a tiny bit.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm trying to think in my head. Yeah, so.
I'm just, yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Friday.
And cheers. Welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo.
My name is Anthony Ihrig.
And today joining us, we have two of the members of the Gated Community, a great band from South Minneapolis, Sumant and Beth. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Great
it's so
to have
great
you.
to see your faces. It's been a long time.
It
I
has.
know.
Um,
Too long.
I feel like I ran into at least you, Sumant, or maybe both of you, at the Acadia sometime in the early spring before all this went down.
Yeah, it was maybe in
That's
February or something. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I saw you guys put on a killer set at the Battle of the Bluegrass Bands at the Parkway Theater last spring. That was the last time we saw you, and that was fantastic. You guys really did a great job.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, and you guys placed in that contest, right?
We did, thanks to
Yeah.
Tony.
Oh, was Tony a judge in that contest?
I was a judge. I was fair, and these
Yeah.
guys put on a wonderful, wonderful performance.
Yeah, and we were so excited that you two were available. And again, two of a bigger band, and we'll get to talking about that in a moment. But first, I want to cheers everybody.
All right.
And see what y'all are drinking out there.
Ding.
Ding. And let's see, you're drinking a Pilsner, Sumant? And
Yes, we both
Yes.
are.
excellent. I'm drinking prepping for my trip to the North Shore next week with Castle Danger Cream Ale.
Ooh,
It's from Two Harbors, Minnesota.
nice.
Good choice.
Well, I've got my Up North cup here, my Angry Trout pint glass, but I have cold press today. Yesterday, I had the one gig that survived the summer of 2020, and let's just say I celebrated a little too much after the gig last night, and so I'm sticking with the coffee here today.
Well, what are you all drinking out there? Let us know in the comments. Let us know where you're tuned in from and what the weather's like. I will say it's another sunny day in Minneapolis, but it's a little hot for us Northerners. It's with the humidity, it's like 100 degrees or something today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hot one. But Sumant, you're from Louisiana originally, so you probably are just fine with this weather, right?
I am okay with it, but in Louisiana, everyone uses air conditioning, so we don't here. So it's not.
No AC in the gated community household over there.
No, we have an air
We have a
conditioner,
unit.
but we never use it.
Don't feel too badly for us.
Yeah, it's just basically self-righteousness.
Well, hardy Minnesotans now. So for folks who maybe aren't as familiar with the gated community as Tony and I are, why don't you maybe give us a little background of the band and how you came to be in Minneapolis, Sumant?
Sure. So I moved to Minneapolis in the summer of 2005 to start teaching at the University of Minnesota in the School of Music, where I still teach. And that year that I started, I had just been moving from New Haven, Connecticut, where I was in a band
New Haven.
called The Things Themselves, right? This is Ellen's hometown. I wanted to start a band inspired by and like that band. And that was a kind of novelty influenced or inflected, country bluegrass Americana band. And through that band and its leader, Rob Slifkin, who is an art historian who teaches at NYU, I got really excited about the music and wanted to keep doing it and keep songwriting and keep performing. And so in January of 2006, I was living on the West Bank in an apartment in the Holtzman building, so roughly across the street from the Cedar Cultural Center. And a number of people in the band, Cody Johnson, who's still the bassist in the band, were there from the beginning. And it just, kind of kept going from there. That was what, 16, I can't count, 14 years ago. So quite a long time now. I guess we'll be celebrating our 15th anniversary in January, and hopefully the pandemic will be over. We'll have vaccines, everything will be fine, and then we'll have a new president, and then but that's the timeline anyway.
Got a shout out to my mom.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. 82 and windy in Montana is the report.
All
Awesome.
right. Thanks, Jane.
Yeah, and Beth, tell us how you, because again, there's been a range of characters that have come in and out of the band. When did you enter into the picture?
That is a really good question. I think 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
I'd been, I guess, a groupie for a while. And then because we had some other bandmates leave the band, I jumped in at one point. And I'm trained as a soprano classical singer. So it's taken me about that long, 4 or 5 years or however long I've been in the band, to feel like I'm now figuring out a country voice. It's such a different technique, different emphasis, and has been really fun to find that voice and keep working on it. Yeah.
Awesome. And this album, Country Hymn, how many albums in is this one for you guys?
This is our third album.
This was your third album, okay.
Yeah. It's the first one that Beth is on. So you would have, 5 years ago, 2015, you would have joined the band because you were on that album when we started recording it.
And this came out in 2016, correct?
Came out in the fall of 2016. Yeah. And then in addition to Beth and me, and I play mostly acoustic guitar and sing and play some other things. We have Rosie Harris, who is a banjo player and cellist and singer. We have Teresa Gowan, who is a fiddle player, accordion player, wonderful musician, and also sings backup in the band. We have Cody Johnson, who is bassist, but also plays drums and also plays a ton of instruments and a wonderful musician. And then we have Paul Hatlelid, who's in that picture with the long beard. He's an amazing musician. He's our drummer in the band, but he also sings, plays guitar, electric and acoustic guitar. That was awesome. And
It's like a PowerPoint.
And he'll in fact be singing lead on one of the songs we'll be listening to today. And then Nate Knutson, who's with the mustache in the front there. He is the newest member of the band, but now it's been 4 years or so. Yeah. And he is and he plays electric guitar, he also plays acoustic, he plays mandolin, he plays a lot of instruments, he plays drums. And so this is the first album he's on as well. He was a guest on this one and then joined the band not that long after it was released, or I think around the time it was released.
Yeah, is it always a constant amount of members, or when you perform, are there different kind of configurations? Because when I've seen you the last 2 times I saw you, it was quite a few members on stage.
Yeah, we aim to have as many as possible, but sometimes
we are like an accordion. Not that some very 2 or 3 of us. Sometimes just the 2 of us will do gigs, or us plus Rosie, or us plus our fiddle player. We can do it a variety of configurations, but of course love it when we are able to have everybody. Very much missing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would Yeah, I think we all feel that, missing our band members big time. The report from Connecticut, Suman, 77 degrees.
That sounds great.
Wow, that sounds
I know, even with the humidity, that sounds pretty good right now.
The thing that's ridiculous about here is the summers here are almost as hot as they are in Louisiana. I mean, they're not that much warmer.
Yeah.
Cooler, I mean,
We're just less equipped for them.
Right, exactly.
Well, we're so glad that you've joined us today for the Back Catalog Listening Party. I am so excited to revisit this record. I have all the Gated Community records, but I remember when this one came out, I played it all the time in my radio show. I really love it. So I'm excited to dig into it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's dig into this first track we're going to listen to today, Old Country. Is there anything you want to say, or do you just want to dig in?
Let's listen, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, let me get the album cover queued up here. We can talk about that later, too. All right, folks. This is the Gated Community, Old Country on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Could use another drink and much warmer climes than pay for my crimes with pennies and dimes. I used to go dance at the bar. Get my mind off my honey, send my money too far. Oh, she still drives my car. And said au revoir. They'll bury me alive in a reference, then count all the behind the green door, but my spirit has left its essence. Oh mama, oh honey, I'm damaged for sure. Don't wanna see the old country no more. I traveled thousands of miles. I did see the world and basked in its smiles. I partook in its wiles. I took notes from my file. They'll bury me alive in a reference, then count all the angels behind the green door, but my spirit has left its essence. Oh mama, oh honey, I'm damaged for sure. Don't wanna see the old country no more. But if I took a would it make it alright? Back at the home on the range,
right. The Gated
Yeah.
Community from their album, their 2016 release, Country Hymn, that was Old Country. And Connie was commenting that she loved the harmony. And tell us a little bit about who all is singing on that one.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rosie is singing lead. She is an amazing singer. She really has this, kind of incredible, like, authenticity as a country old time, Americana singer. I know she and her sister, Katie Williams, who used to be in the band as well, both grew up kind of listening to and imitating the Dixie Chicks and other country singers, and really kind of they just got into the music, and they're both great singers, and Rosie's been in the band for many years now, so it's great to hear her singing these songs. This is a song that I love singing myself. I mean, I sort of the persona is this kind of somewhat kind of sardonic or ironic onlooker onto a complicated kind of romance situation, that seeing it from the outside, but like a kind of barroom commentator of the sort you might imagine from a Coen Brothers movie or something. And thanks, Sonali. It's great to see you. And it's and then on the harmonies, Beth and I are accompanying her. So it's actually interesting because we do a lot of 3-part harmony, but the harmonies have changed over the years. In the kind of, I would say, the last album, the one before this one, it was typically me and Katie, and then Katie's husband Scott, who's also in the band. And Scott would have the lowest part. I would have either the middle part or sometimes the high part, and then Katie would have either the high or the middle part. And this and these versions of it, it's typically that I have the low part, Rosie is the middle part, and then Beth has the high part. Is that usually right? Sometimes
usually works out that way.
And do you guys arrange it as a band, or is there kind of a lead kind of arranger for the band, or the songwriter does it, or how does that work in your band?
Yeah, it's sort of a mix, I would say.
Sumanto is the songwriter, and then will often make a sort of demo tape and send it out to folks, but it seems it's often very collaborative in terms of working out the specificities of the parts. And I will say too, just going to Connie's point, and Monica too, this is one of my favorites, and one of my favorites to sing. I love it's one of those moments where you just think, being able to sing, being able to harmonize, there's something so powerful about it. And I love singing the backing vocals in this song. It's just really it's such a joy.
Yeah, when we get it right, it feels like it feels like magic, and it's really it's so satisfying. And it's cool too because it's in, like a lot of songs that I write, I mean, it's very in the kind of country waltz / 6/8 kind of style. It's pretty familiar, but it has a bridge or an interlude. I don't know how you exactly classify it, and it's about a transatlantic romance problem that a friend of ours was having.
So the bridge is actually bridging the
right. And so it's like a fantasy of the flight.
You're not a professor of music or anything, are you?
Hey, Paula.
Yeah, so actually Paula brings up a good point. She says, I'm a big fan of the band, not the concept. So tell us a little bit about the band name. How did you come up with the Gated Community? Because I can't think of anyone who has fewer boundaries around their music than you, both in terms of what you write about as well as the style. It's very eclectic music, which we'll hear as we go through these songs today. Tell us a little bit about why you chose to give yourself these walls, Sumant.
Well, speaking of ironic commentary, it's the Gated Community sounds like a punk band's name. It's definitely like a kind of reclaiming of some thing that's associated with some conservative or right wing or suburban or whatever, sort of phenomenon, and then reclaiming it for something that's very much not that. And this band goes back to 2006, and so you have to remember this was still the George Bush era, right? And even though the wars in the Middle East still, continue to this day. At that time, the newness of that moment was very fresh in my mind. And I had been in 2003 to the biggest protests against the war or the start of the war in Iraq in February and March 2003 in New York. One of the things that really struck me was seeing this group called Billionaires for Bush. I don't know if you'd heard of them, but they were this group of people who would dress up in these like Mr. Moneybags Monopoly top hats and
the monocle,
the monocle, and these expensive cocktail dresses or whatever. They would basically imitate the trappings of wealth. And then they would go to these protests and they would make fun of the protesters. And I thought, this is amazing, because everyone was in on the joke, of course, right? And so it was just really funny to watch them do this, satirize the relationship of power kind of in front of you, and we could all kind of joke about it together and take, some kind of pleasure in the fact that these horrible things were happening in our country. And I really loved that. I was very impressed by that. And the community really comes out of that spirit, that kind of sensibility. It's very much an ironic thing. And even though, Old Country and a lot of the songs on this album aren't novelty songs, really, when we started the band, it had a much more novelty emphasis. So the humor and the funniness was kind of central to the whole thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear that kind of throughout. And in the live show, too. There's definitely some other influences in there. And so I always have to ask, especially in a situation like this where, there's classic country, at least in that last tune, definitely kind of is the creative boundaries maybe for the song itself. But I'm hearing lots of other things coming in there. You mentioned punk rock. What other influences have shaped you as a songwriter, and that do you kind of consciously try to bring to this band?
That's a great question. I would say I grew up listening a ton to the Beatles. They were a group that, I know they're not cool anymore, right? The OK Boomer thing, but I still love the Beatles.
Cool.
They will always be cool.
They're still cool.
Okay, good. So
here on Back Catalog Listening Party, they will always be cool.
But I love the Beatles, and I loved them growing up, and I think just the fact that they aspired to be, as Lennon and McCartney put it, the Goffin and King of sort of British pop rock. They really were very invested in the kind of Tin Pan Alley, based or influenced songwriting model, which it's bridges and these very modular sections that do different things. And I would say that is a huge influence on me. It's why, the songs, even though, like you were saying, Tony, that they draw on, they have country, classic country at the core, their kind of motivations or their impulses are different. So that's a huge one. I would say another huge one is Bob Dylan. It's a cliche to be influenced by Bob Dylan, but I really am. And I love Bob Dylan's music so much. And when I moved here, I was communing with the Basement tapes, the kind of complete collection of them before they were released more recently. I just listened to them over and over and over again, and it was just this world of magic. There's a book by Grail Marcus that describes them as the old weird America.
Yeah,
they have this. They just seem like they sprawl in amazing directions, and I find that Dylan is so inspiring as a source for thinking about, if I want to write a song, what would it be like? And of course he did that for so many people. And I would say a third influence that's maybe less known is Terry Allen, the Lubbock, Texas artist and country musician, whose music I can't recommend enough. He's an amazing musician and songwriter. His albums Juarez and Lubbock on Everything and other stuff. He's very close to the Flatlanders, so they'll do some of his songs like, Give Me a Ride to Heaven, Boy, I'll Show You Paradise, Give Me a Ride to Heaven, Boy, My Name is Jesus Christ. That's a great song, for example, that Joe Ely will sing when he's doing the Flatlanders or by himself. But Terry Allen is incredible, and he's an incredible artist too. And so much of his stuff is about art. So he's a very arty kind of figure, but he has this wonderful homespun nasal voice and piano style that I just absolutely love. And so a number of my songs I feel like are fake Terry Allen songs, and this is one of them.
Well, it's funny. People are chiming in right now. Connie and Tina were both saying yes
Hey,
to
Tina.
loving Terry Allen. And also, I don't know if Alan, our friend Alan in Dallas, Texas, is tuning in as he normally does, but we have some Texas folks who regularly listen, and a shout out to them, to one of their own, Terry Allen. So one of the things you mentioned was with Dylan was sort of, you know, if folks are only familiar with like the 60s Dylan, obviously he's done so many, he also has been very eclectic and wide ranging in what he's done. And as a professor, you've also, of course, published works. And one of the things I read that you did was all about Dylan's different voicings and the different kinds of voices that he's employed, which I had never really thought about. But then you go back and you listen and you think, oh yeah, he does sound totally different in the 60s, not just how the music was produced, but his singing. So it was really interesting. And whether people call it singing or not, I know that's a whole nother question.
I always thought of it as like Bob Dylan, and then there was like the Lay Lady Lay Bob Dylan.
Right, that was like the frog in his throat version. You know, I love that part. You know, and I think Dylan is a great singer. I mean, I have no qualms about saying that. I think what he does with his voice, even now when his voice is so diminished in terms of what he can do with it, he still uses it so incredibly well.
Right, because he's so expressive. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people who have like just beautiful tones to their voice, but they don't do much with it. And Dylan's kind of like, I'd say, the flip side of that. He's like, it's not like he has the most incredible natural voice, but he's learned how to harness it in a way that few, I think, have. And I think anyone who heard that those American Standards records can kind of hear that, his interpretive kind of style. If folks just tuned into Back Catalog Listening Party today, we are talking with Sumant and Beth from the Minneapolis-based band The Gated Community. And we're so happy to have them here talking about their influences on their 2016 release, Country Hymn. And tell us a little bit about this title. And I mean, obviously you are, there's a lot of country. You could probably categorize the whole album generally, I guess, as country. But why him, and why dilapidated building on the front?
So this is a good question. This is a photograph of a kind of small country church in, I believe, North Carolina somewhere. Is that where Mark said? But the problem is that I shouldn't say the problem, but the thing is that the building has, in the original version of it, text that says Church of God, and then it has a quote from Acts from the Bible that's actually an anti-Semitic passage in the Bible, or one that could be read that way. And so, you know, the band was not comfortable with including that, and I understood that. And so I went back to Mark and thought, well, can we edit the text out? And he did, and he did a wonderful job of making it look as if it's not, you know, it was never there. But I think the title of Country Hymn also is a reference to, you know, the song Country Hymn, which is on the album. And that song, which we'll get to listen to in a bit, really deals with the struggles with faith, and sort of again, there's another kind of perspective on who the devil is, and you know, and what your life is like when you're a young, you know, adult or a teenager at 17, and I guess the kind of unsettledness of it, and the unsettledness of thinking about religion and what it means in American society today, was sort of all on my mind, and felt like that this was a kind of a timely and important thing to kind of center the themes of the album around, even though, like, you know, Ellen was saying, I mean, the songs are eclectic and touch lots of different themes. And of course, you know, in the wake of Trump's election and the role of evangelicals and in supporting him, it has only, I think, you know, increased in its relevance in that way.
For sure. Well, let's dig back into the record and hear another track from it. I think the next one we've queued up is Blockbuster, with an exclamation point. Reference to the video chain.
So this is the only cover that we've selected for today. It's actually a cover by the glam rock band The Sweet from the early 70s, and so and then we can talk more about it after, but we turn it into a different thing.
Very cool. Well, you can hear it now, folks. The Gated Community, Blockbuster! Exclamation point on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
better take care. You better watch out if you got long black hair. Go out of your mind, you come from behind. You better beware, you never know what you find. Don't look at his eyes, don't be surprised when you find out what's there behind his disguise. Nobody knows where Buster goes. You see a woman now right from under your nose. So anyone know the way? There's got to be a way. We just haven't got a clue what to do. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way to Blockbuster. The cops arrive, they're running about. Don't know if they're gonna be able to Blockbuster out. He's gotta be caught, he's gotta be told. He's more evil than anyone ever thought. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way. We just haven't got a clue what to do. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way to Blockbuster. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way. We just haven't got a clue what to do. Does anyone know the way? There's got to be a way to Blockbuster.
All right, the gated community with a nice psych out ending. Blockbuster from their 2016 release country hymn. Beth and Sumant from the band joining us live today on Back Catalog Listening Party. And I warned folks on Facebook when I was posting, I was getting ready for the show. I said that people are going to want to buckle up because
Yeah. That
we're
one was
going for a
moving.
ride today. I know. I was,
Yeah.
you know, good thing I'm in a stationary, safe seat. That was awesome. And has that song also changed over the years in terms of how you perform it? Or is it stayed pretty much the same?
It's not a song we performed.
Yeah,
a
we
whole
haven't
lot.
done it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really. It was nice to listen to it because we haven't done it in a while. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm going to put in my request then. Next
Yeah.
time I see you guys in person, and you'll have plenty of time to prepare.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
You
we
guys
like
should
doing
sing
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing the harmonies when we end on Blockbuster, and we're all just holding the chord for a while, the tonic chord. It's really great.
And Teresa's got a Wicked Witch of the Wicked Witch of the West, the fiddle licks that I think
they're
are really
hilarious.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nate just plays.
God, that's one of the
Yeah, I
reasons
got
I
it.
wanted to highlight the song, just to highlight Nate's wonderful playing. We recorded that direct, so just the guitar direct into the recording board, and it gave it this wonderful sound. That was John Miller's idea. We should also give a shout out to John Miller, our recording engineer, co-producer, and dear friend. And he was formerly co-owner of Secret Stash Records and was the chief engineer there, and now he runs Future Condo Studio in South Minneapolis. And so we've been working with him since this album. We're now in the middle of our third one with him. But yeah, he's brilliant, and it was really great his idea, as many of them always are, just so brilliant. So
Lots of layers.
yeah, lots of people involved. The music is very collaborative, which I think is good. I mean, I feel like if it were just up to me, it would be much worse.
So tell us a little bit about how you did record this. Did you have? I mean, there's so many of you on some of these tracks. I'm guessing it makes it hard to get everyone to record stuff live? Did you have to sort of multi-track everything, or did you try and get clusters of people to perform live together?
For most of when we record, I would say we tend to do all the rhythm instruments live together, and then the parts that are added later would be like the guitar solo or Teresa's fiddle parts, and then the vocals we tend to add on afterwards. So yeah, that's been the way we've done them. I think the first album we tracked basically live, but so we sang and played all at the same time. But which it turned out fairly well. But I think having opportunities to be able to redo the vocals and just fix things is helpful. So
yeah, just odds with so many people, no matter how great everyone is, like no one's going to be perfectly happy with all their parts. You're doing them all live.
Even so, like we let things go, and we sacrifice a certain amount of perfection for just the sense of like, this is what the band sounds like. We aren't a perfect polished band, but we're good players, and we have wonderful musicians in the band, and it gives it something of a sense of like, this is real music being made. And so that's generally, we've erred on that side of things, for better or worse.
And the energy is good. I think that oftentimes trumps the polish.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. And I will just put a plug in that, again, if you ever have an opportunity in this century to hear the Gated Community live, I highly recommend it, because you just are seeing two of the lovely faces and voices of the band, but there's a lot of them, and they have so much fun. I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen a Gated Community where I didn't feel like I was having as much fun as the band on stage. So, which is rare to have people that are that consistent in terms of the energy and excitement about the songs. And no matter what the venue's like, you guys always bring it. So I'm really appreciative of that.
And like most bands right now, they're unable to perform. So you may have seen in the comments section, we put a tip jar. There's their PayPal, and as well as a link to purchase this record on Bandcamp. If you want the arts to continue in 2021, we got to keep artists afloat, and that's one of our missions here at Back Catalog Listening Party. So if you like what you hear, please go buy a copy of the record and throw a little something in the tip jar.
And Paula says you all are too modest, so your egos are going to be huge after this event, though. There'll be no talking to you. So the title track, you were starting, obviously you gave a little background about sort of the title and a little bit about the song, but we are going to hear that next. Is there anything else you want to say before we jump in?
Not much. Let's listen to it. I mean,
This is Paulie's.
Yeah, this is Paulie's song. So
Singing
we
lead.
just want to give a shout out to Paul, because he did such an amazing job singing it. And and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
That sounds great. All right, let's hear the title track from the Gated Community's Country Hymn on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, the devil can take and the devil can break. fine kind of frame of mind. What a fine kind of frame of mind. What a fine kind of frame of mind.
All right, the Gated Community, the title track to their 2016 release, Country Hymn, and we have Sumant and Beth from the band joining us today on Back Catalog Listening Party. Connie says, wonderful song. I totally agree. And yeah, a beautiful vocal performance. And you said that Polly did the lead vocals. Sumant, I know you, for the originals, you write the bulk of the songs. How do you decide who's going to take the lead on it? Like, when you wrote it, did you think, oh, he should sing this song?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really selfish and I want to sing them all myself. And then I realized it's a bad idea. But it quickly became clear that Polly would sound great on this. But it was kind of this amazing thing that happened in the studio. I mean, I think
really first or second take.
It was
in the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and he hadn't sung it a lot. I mean, he had worked on it, and he'd played it, and I didn't feel like he sort of had it, And then I think I told him to kind of channel his inner Tom Waits a little bit, because I had that sense of a sound of a voice in my head when I was writing it. And this is, I should say, is one of the now several songs that I've dreamt, which is also a very weird thing that happens to me. I dream songs, and I was at a conference and taking a nap, and I woke up and I had this image of this young guy and an older man who looked sort of like Levon Helm, and basically he was saying, all right, we're going to sing the song now, like we're going to sing this hymn now. And then they start singing it together, and it was just this weird thing that I'm just watching in the dream, and I wake up, and it was very striking. And then I didn't have any instruments with me, so I started actually notating it in music notation, which I don't usually do with my songs, and just to remember the chords and the harmonies and the vibe of it. And then later, I kind of, like with most songs that I write, I usually can only remember a part of the dream, or I only get some of the lyrics, and then it sort of fills out as I'm in kind of a half awake state, and then I end up usually finishing them then. But so Polly had not really worked with this song that much, and the studio, he went in and did this Tom Waits thing, and it was just amazing. John Miller and I were and you were there too, right? We were sitting there, kind of just staring at each other, kind of in awe of what we were just seeing happen behind the glass.
I will never forget it. It was first thing in the morning. He's got clear in his throat. He went in there, and it just was like, wow! It was incredible. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, the magic of the studio. Sometimes you don't know what's going to come out. Yeah, and kind of interesting you were talking about, actually like writing down the music, because now so many of us, have other tools, we can just do a recording of ourselves singing and whatever. But obviously both of you have classical music training, and some of the other members of the band have that, but then some have more sort of just grew up playing and picking music. So it's interesting that you seem to have a hybrid of people who have really, really formal traditional music training and people who just kind of pick things up, and it kind of shows in the music you make. It's complex, but yet feels familiar.
Oh, that's good. And that is very true. I mean, a lot of us have, like, Teresa's very trained. I mean, she's an amazing classical violinist. Rosie has classical music training from playing cello. But Johnny did not, he was such an incredible musician. And this is another thing that's important about this record. This is the last album on which our late bandmate Johnny Becker appeared. And he was an amazing musician. I mean, in terms of just his ability, just incredible. And yeah, he wasn't a trained musician in terms of like reading notation or whatever. Yeah, there's Johnny there playing my Telecaster. And he was just like one of a kind. And Beth obviously and me are trained in that way, and then Cody,
Nate too.
Nate also went to like St. Olaf Conservatory, so he's got that kind of training. But then Cody really doesn't. He's he's a more self-taught musician. But yeah, and everyone's so good at what they do. I mean, it's really such a joy. And going back to something you were saying earlier about us having fun playing, I mean, like this is family. I love every one of these people so dearly in the band, and it's just such a great thing to be able to get together and play music. So when we do it, and the fact that people like the songs that I write, I mean, I'm still sort of genuinely touched that the band wants to work on these things, and that they do. It just, I don't know, it's like one of the most, incredible things and most important things in my life,
And I would think to also hear other people sing them. I know you said you sometimes are initially selfish, like you don't want to give up the songs, but then when they do, they must just, I don't know, whenever I've heard someone sing one of my songs, it just feels like, wow, I didn't know it could sound like that.
Wow.
And even if it's the same band, I would imagine that there's a little bit of that to just hear your songs transformed by other people.
Totally.
Must be kind of inspiring.
It is. It's wonderful. Really wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, if you just tuned into Back Catalog Listening Party, or if you've been listening the whole time, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions for Sumanth and Beth before, to make sure that we answer them before we leave today, make sure to, or just comments, feel free to share them there in the comments. And hello also to anyone if they're listening on YouTube. That's a new thing for us. So hello to everybody, no matter how you've tuned us in. And again, having a lot of fun revisiting this record, Country Hymn. And this next song, I was talking with my husband, who is a big fan, has gotten to play with you guys before. And he was saying, oh, you're going to talk about Country Hymn? Staying Around is one of my favorite songs of the gated community. So we're excited to revisit this one. Another one with someone else on the lead vocals.
I'm touched to hear that about Ben, because we're also big fans of Ben and love him and you guys and his music. And yeah, so anyway, it's just wonderful to hear that. But this is a song that Beth sings lead on. So I love the way she sings this song. So, and I actually did imagine this one as I was writing it for Beth to sing. So
nice.
Not always a case.
All right, let's give it a listen. This is Staying Around from the Gated Community on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Are you coming back if you leave me? Are you coming back when you leave town? It was just a day, your highs and lows that pulled me to the ground. Are you coming back or staying around? Will you suffer if you are lonely? Will you suffer if you are down? It was just a day inside the throes that left me full unwound. Are you coming back or staying around? Is there something more that you can tell me? Is there something lost that can be found?
right, The Gated Community with the song Staying Around from their 2016 release, Country Hymn. And that was Beth, who is joining us today on the lead vocals, a song written by Sumant, also joining us today. And of course, the band fleshing that out in such a beautiful way. It has kind of a 1970s kind of songwriter vibe to it, like that guitar, that style of guitar picking with the piano and also the strings. Like it has that kind of orchestrated feel to it that it felt very nostalgic for me.
And was
really
that a little Beatles in the bridge there?
Yeah, totally. Definitely.
Yeah, lots of tempo changes for sure. Really nice. And one thing I've noticed is that there's sort of exemplified actually by all your album art, not just for this release, but your past ones and your new one as well. Won't You Believe Me? Is that they often have photographic elements of like really, and they're very evocative images. And I just feel like a lot of your songwriting also has that sense of place. And I don't know, is that come from Sumant, from you like living in lots of different places, or is that just kind of what you're drawn to in the characters that you write about?
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
I've not thought about this. I definitely have lived in lots of places. That's true. I was born outside Chicago, moved to Slidell, Louisiana when I was a kid, went to college in Austin, Texas, grad school in the East Coast in New Haven, and then moved here. After that, but I have to say, some songs more than others, are very place oriented, but a lot of them feel like the place is at some level going back to some kind of nostalgic memory of some kind of music that I associate with a specific experience or time. I mean, I was born in the mid 70s, and certainly like 70s singer-songwriter music also has that nostalgic feeling for me too. And so certainly the arrangements were you're dead on. I mean, we're inspired by that kind of sound. And so for me personally, they bring me back to my childhood, to growing up outside Chicago or in Slidell. But this one, the words are pretty spare. Like they don't have any reference to place. Like in our new album, the Stuck in Louisiana is more specifically about Louisiana and like the experience of moving there. So it does vary, but that's a great question. I have to think about that more.
Well, of course, right now you live in Minneapolis, and but it's been nice to sort of travel a little bit virtually with you all on this back catalog listening party. And again, we've been sharing the PayPal link if you want to throw something in Samantha Beth's The Gated Community's tip jar, and also the link to buy this and other great Gated Community albums on Bandcamp. And a little plug, if you go to their website, which is thegatedcommunityband.com, I believe, there is a link to subscribe to their email list. And I have to say, if you're not on their email list, it's one of the most unique things. I mean, they send emails, obviously, but they're not structured in the way maybe that you are accustomed to seeing band emails. It's all text, and it will tell you of any shows coming up. But before that, there's a lot of fun political commentary, a lot of parodies. I don't really know how to describe it except to say, if you're curious, you should sign up for the email list.
I'm curious now.
I always tell people, if you want to get, somewhat inappropriate messages from me, then you should get sign up now. Right, exactly. Yeah, they're kind of like weird political manifestos. They are, onion news pieces. They are, sometimes like terrible poetry. Sometimes they're
this most recent one, talking about your appearance today, talked about how Beth was going to be vying to be the football coach for the U of M.
Yes.
Which is pretty hilarious. So really a wide range of topics covered in the Gated Community email newsletter. So if you're curious, you can check that out. But I would recommend getting this record where you can hear it in stereo and hear all the different instrumentation that's going on in this record. It's really, really cool stuff. Well, I think we have time for squeeze in one more tune if you guys are up for it.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
oh, look, someone says definitely sign up for the email list. Remember to vote Coach Beth. Wonderful. Well, so we're gonna squeeze in one more song, Billy. And is there anything you want to say before we dig in?
Yeah, quickly. It was initially inspired by trying to write songs about the IKEA Billy bookshelves, and then became a more serious song. As John Miller put it, about as good as a song about a bookshelf could be. You know? And, it's sort of a fake Neil Young song. Right, there you go. That's the Billy. But then it ended up becoming about other things, including Billy the Kid and people named Billy in my life. And so it also, actually, this song makes me very much think of specific places. You know, there's Lincoln County associated with Billy the Kid. There's, the Billy Gale of my childhood when I was in Slidell, or Billy, who was a cafeteria worker in New Haven, who became, an acquaintance at that time. So different Billies in my life who are kind of going through this. Yeah.
All the Billies. Well, fantastic. Here we go. This is Billy from the Gated Community on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Billy, take me by the hand. I'll save you from your father and take me as I am. We waited for an hour and tried to understand. It's late in the evening. It's early in the morning. No time to sound a warning anymore. Billy, lead me far away, away from Lincoln County. And have you much to say out from under that sombrero? And with the light of day, her son drains a couple. His gun by your buckle, and you won't be fighting knuckle anymore. Billy, show me what's your hand. A modern family ruin. And the lady left her man on a sunny afternoon. We'll wait on your command when sure of no danger, to clear the house of strangers. No dog in the manger anymore.
All right. So the Gated Community with their
Yeah.
song inspired by Bookshelf, Billy. And you can find it on their 2016 release Country Hymn. Thank you so much for
Fantastic.
joining us today. This was so much fun to
Thanks so
revisit
much
this
for having
record.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
This
it's
is really
nice.
fun.
Yeah.
It's really great to see your faces, and we can't wait to see them in person someday.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll happen. It'll
Yeah.
happen.
And we'll do the long overdue virtual hangout on the interim. So.
That's right. Well, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in today. Again, if you like what you heard, you can share with your friends on YouTube or Facebook. And also next Friday, we have Jonathan Brooke joining us, world-renowned songwriter. Really excited about that. So she has a new record. We're going to be talking about an old one, though, because that's what we do on this show. And thank you so much, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.